After we saw the backdrop, now it's time to start seeing the equipment needed inside the studio, and the first item will be the strobe. And what is a strobe? A strobe is the source of light in your studio. It's something like a flash. We don't call it a flash, we call it a strobe, but it is a kind of flashing light through which you can take your picture. So strobes are the most important thing in any studio because they are the light source. The importance of a strobe is that it has controls from the back. These controls allow us to strengthen the light, to increase its power or to decrease its power. What benefit do we get when we can control the power of the light, increasing the power or decreasing the power? This is very important to select the correct aperture on the camera. As you know, on the camera you can change the aperture, and for example, if you are willing to shoot on f22 or f16, on that aperture you will have a very big depth of field which will produce very good sharpness. But also, as you know, if we select f22 or f16, then the eye of the camera will be small and we need a lot of light to enter into the camera to have a good lit picture. So by increasing the power of the strobe, we can have the needed light to enter into the camera even if we have a small opening at f22. If you don't remember what is aperture and depth of field, or if you'd like to review them, you can watch my tutorials Photography 101 series, where you can see in depth what is depth of field and what's aperture and so on. So the most important thing in the strobe is that we can control the strength of light, which will be very important to select the appropriate aperture on the camera to have the desired depth of field. Another important thing in the strobe is that we can add to it a lot of light modifiers, which we put in the front. The light modifiers will control how big or small the light source will be, in what direction the light will go, and things like that. So this is very important in photography, where we can control the shape, the direction, and so on. We are going to see all these modifiers in a while, and we are going to understand each one, how it will work and how does it affect the final picture. But for now, we are going to see the strobe as is and look to its control and how we can change it. Also, to be able to shoot in the studio using strobe, you need a tripod which is designed especially for the strobe, where you can put your strobe on the tripod, and after that you can add your modifiers and start shooting. So let's fasten it and start right away. So now we are going to see the strobe controls from the back, and after a while we are going to see the strobe from the front to explain some items there. The first thing that you can see on the strobe is the number here. This number, which is currently 2.3, is the strength of the light. It's the power. So what is 2.3? How powerful is 2.3? What is the correct aperture value that I can use when I'm shooting on 2.3 on the strobe? Simply, we cannot know. This number cannot be translated right away to the right aperture value. For that reason, there's another device which is called the light meter, which we are going to see in a moment, and we will learn how to use it. The light meter will measure the value 2.3 and will tell us how strong this number is. So you can control the strength of the light of the strobe from here, but you need to measure it with the light meter to know how strong this number is. By the way, I'm using the strobes from Elinchrom, and this is the BRX 500. On this series, the lowest strobe value is 2.3. So this is the lowest value we can get. To increase or decrease the light power, we use the arrows here. So we can click here to change the power. If you heard, every time I change the power of the strobe or the strength of the light of the strobe, you hear a beeping sound. This sound means that the strobe is fully charged and it's ready to shoot. If you don't hear the sound, it means that it's not ready yet. So this is very important. Every time I change the power, I hear the sound, which means now it's ready to take pictures. So these two arrows control the strength of the strobe, and these arrows over here control something called the modeling lamp power. At the moment you cannot see the modeling lamp because it's from the front, and as I said, we are going to see the front in a while. But just to explain it, Every strobe has a modeling lamp, which is a simple light that will show you the direction of the light, so you can get an idea where the light will hit if you take the picture. So this modeling lamp also has a certain strength. You can increase or decrease the strength or the power of this modeling lamp from here. In many situations, you might be in a dark place and you need a really strong modeling light to see to which direction the light will go, and therefore this option will be handy, where you can increase or decrease the light. By the way, there is no relation between the power of the flash and the power of the modeling lamp. The modeling lamp will have no effect on the photography at all. It is just for us to see the direction of the light before we take the picture. When we take the picture, we will only take the light from the flash of the strobe, so only from the number over here. So this has nothing to do with the photography. It's just for us before taking the picture to understand where the light will be going. You can see a button in the middle. This button will enable the light to be on or off. I mean the modeling lamp light. So many times you might want to do pictures or photography, but without lighting the modeling lamp. Why is that? The modeling lamp is a tungsten light, therefore it emits a lot of heat. So in different situations, like if you are shooting food photography, and for example if you are shooting ice cream, you cannot emit a lot of heat on the ice cream to take the pictures, or the ice cream will melt. So to prevent this from happening, you can turn off the modeling lamp from this button and you can continue shooting smoothly. I'd like to remind you that the flashlight, the real light that you will use for the photography, will only light for a small part of a second. It will be very fast, a flash. So the flash will not really affect the food that you are shooting a lot. What will really affect it is a continuous light, which is the tungsten light, I mean the modeling lamp. So you can turn off the modeling lamp from here and you can continue shooting with your flash and things will be very smooth and easy. The other buttons here are as follows. The first one, where you can see the icon of an eye, this button is for red eye reduction. But I can tell you that since I started using Elincrom, I never faced a problem in red eye reductions and I never had to use this button at all. But it's there. If you are facing red eye problems, you can use this button to decrease red eye problems. The button under it, where you can see the musical notation, it is for the sound of the strobe. As I said, if you decrease or increase the power of the strobe, you hear this beeping sound. This beeping sound means that the strobe is fully charged and ready to throw the light. If you don't want to hear this beeping sound, you can turn it off or on from this button. In some situations, it might be noisy if you use this beeping sound, and you can turn it off. The last button here is a test shot, where you can take a test shot of the strobe. So if I click it, now as if I took a picture, the strobe emitted the light that was charged inside it, and we demonstrated taking a picture. You notice every time I click it, there's a beeping sound after that. Why there's a beeping sound? This means that after using the strobe did the recharging and it's ready to take the picture once again. So this sound will be very important for the photographer if he is doing a photography session. Why? Because when you are doing the photography, you will not be standing next to the strobe to see if the strobe is charged or not. So how can you know if your strobes are ready to take shots? Simply by hearing the sound. And if you have multiple strobes, you will hear multiple beeps. So this is really very handy and very important. The button under them is the on-off button, and it's self-explanatory. There are two things left from the side, which is this semisphere and the opening over here. The semisphere is a kind of technology by which strobes can talk to each other so that they can tell each other, let's emit light together. What's that strange idea? To explain it, we need to understand the thing under it. Usually when we are going to do photography using strobes, we will not use the button here to emit the light, because as you're doing a photography, you're holding your camera and you're far away from your strobes. So you are going to be using a wireless system that will send the orders to the strobe to emit light. I will show you the wireless transmitter in a moment. But to understand the semisphere over here, let's say the wireless system is damaged. Maybe it got damaged, or it's out of battery and you are having a shooting and you cannot stop it. So how can you use the strobe if you don't have a wireless system? The backup is to use the opening here, where there's a special cable that you can plug it here in the strobe, and the other side will be plugged into your camera. Note, not every camera has this option where you can plug the cable from the strobe to the camera. The camera should be in the mid-range of professional cameras and above. In other words, if you are having an entry-level DSLR camera, like for example the 100D, you will not find this option in that camera. So you need mid-range and above to have this feature. But once you have it, you can plug a direct cable between your camera and the strobe. So when there is a direct connection between the two, every time you press the shutter speed on the camera, the strobe will get a signal and it will emit the light. But if you are using multiple lights, while you are using only one cable, because you can connect only one cable to your camera, how can you control the other strobes? Simply, the strobe that is connected to the camera will receive the signal from the camera to emit light, and through this semisphere it will send the order to all the other strobes, and the other strobes will receive this order from their semispheres, and they will all emit light in the same moment. So these things over here, they are kind of emergency use or plan B if your wireless system got damaged, so you can use the wired system, and the semisphere will talk to all the strobes in your studio and all of them can function properly. And since we are mentioning the wireless trigger, let's have a look of the wireless trigger that I have for the Electrum strobes. So this is the wireless trigger. It has two buttons at the top which control increasing or decreasing the power of the light. So for example, here it's 2.5. If I click on the plus, so wirelessly I am increasing the power. I did not touch these buttons at all, but I was able to increase, and now I will decrease without even touching the strobe. Also, there's a test button here where I can test the light, which is similar to this one over here. So if I click it, as if I took a picture, click it again, and I emitted light once again. So this wireless device will be attached to your camera at the hot shoe at the top, where you put your speed light flash, and every time you click the shutter speed on the camera, the wireless device will send a signal to all the strobes that you have, so that you can emit light and take your picture. So after we saw these controls on the back of the strobe, let's see the front of the strobe to see what we have there. So now we are looking to the front of the strobe. At the front, you can see three things. You see the modeling lamp, which is the big thing over here. You see a circle at the back, which is the flash, and this is the main thing. When we take a picture, the light will emit from this circular area and not from that. This is only the modeling lamp, which we use to get an idea of the direction of the light. But the real photography will be from the circle over there. And here there's a small opening which I will talk about in a moment. So, by the way, this strobe is currently turned on. It's not off. But I turned off the modeling lamp only. The modeling lamp is the big thing, but it is the least important thing in a strobe. Why it is the least important? Because it does not have any real job other than giving us an idea to which direction the light will flow. When we take the picture and when we emit the light from the flash, the strobe will have a zero effect on the image, because the light that will be emitted from the flash will be very strong, much stronger than the modeling lamp, in such a way that the light of the modeling lamp will not be captured by the camera. So it does not have any role in lighting your scene. It will only give you an idea before you take the picture. But once you take the picture, the only light that is important is the circle at the back. So the circular thing at the back is the real thing that will emit the light, and it is a circular shape, and it is very strong. And what about the opening below them? This small hole or small opening is used to add accessories to the strobe. An example of accessories that can be added to the strobe in this position is something called an umbrella. So we can add umbrellas to the strobe and we plug them here. Also, we can add something called a deflector, which is something used in a beauty dish. These are new names, but we are going to see all of them in a while in this tutorial. But just keep in mind that this opening will be used to add some accessories to your strobe. Let me now turn on the modeling lamp so we can see its color. So now you can see the modeling lamp, which is a tungsten light lighting in front of us. Let's try to take a shot. I will use the wireless system to tell the strobe to emit light. It might not be very visible on the camera, but the flashlight was very strong, such a way we were not able to see the modeling lamp light when the strobe was lit. For sure, this is a very fast thing. Let's try to take another shot. And I will turn off the modeling lamp and take a sample shot as well. So now the modeling lamp is off, and if I take a test shot, it's working properly. This means it's not necessary to have the modeling lamp turned on when you are doing photography. I can take shots easily even if the modeling lamp is turned off. In fact, if you are doing outdoor photography and you are using outdoor strobes, usually we don't use modeling lamps in an outdoor strobe. Why is that? Because in an outdoor strobe, you are using it on a battery and you need to minimize the consumption of the battery as much as possible. And a modeling lamp will consume a lot of the battery, so it's much better to keep it turned off. And with some experience, you will reach a level that you will be able to know where your light will be going, even if the modeling lamp is turned off. So the modeling lamp is not that crucial in your strobe. It's good when you're starting. It gives you an idea of the orientation of the light, but with some experience, you can get rid of it and use your strobe without the modeling lamp. So we had an idea about the strobe from the back, the controls, and we saw the strobe from the front. And now we can continue to see what is a light meter and what are the accessories that we can add to our strobe.